Well, they came into my cell. There was these two guys. One stood at the doorway holding a candle, and this other guy came over to me. And I was up in the corner of this little cell trying to protect my leg as best I could because I thought it was broken. And the first thing he did was he comes over, and he grabs me, pulls me out of the corner, and kicks me in the broken leg. And it was extremely painful. And then he just starts punching on me, and I'm still blindfolded, I'm still handcuffed, but I can kind of see underneath the blindfold. And he is hitting me so hard that I am actually seeing stars. And I always thought that you know, when you see the cartoon characters, when they get hit really hard, you see the stars going around their head. I always thought that was just a comical thing, but I was actually seeing stars. He was hitting me so hard.
Berryman's target, the day he was shot down, had been an Iraqi convoy headed toward the town of Al-Kafji, the scene of the first major battle between the Allies and the Iraqis. It was a battle that revealed much about the Iraqi army and the Iraqi soldier.
It taught us that the Iraqis were the gang that couldn't shoot straight. They couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. We learned they couldn't, to use American vernacular, shoot, move, and communicate at the same time, and you need to be able to do those things in order to conduct a successful attack. Perhaps the most important was that we learned if you bloodied their nose in round one, they did not want to come out for round two, that they just didn't have the fire in the belly for this fight.
Saudi Arabia and the world have no argument with the people of Iraq. The people of Iraq are good. Saddam Hussein.
The Iraqi troops do not have the fire in their bellies. They surrender in droves. However, Saddam is not simply going to walk out of Kuwait. The Allied invasion spans the Saudi border with Kuwait. The U.S. Marine Corps battle plan calls for a two-pronged attack to engage the enemy head-on. The United States Army will sweep in from the left behind the Iraqis and destroy the Republican Guard. But when the ground war is finally launched, the Marines move so swiftly that they serve as a piston, forcing the Iraqis north.
The day that the ground war kicked off, I flew 4 missions throughout that day, the first day, and it was pretty interesting because initially early on, as we'd be flying up over the border, you could look down and you could see just lines of logistics and tanks and Marines getting ready to go through all the breaches. And by the time I came up for my second sortie, it looked like Rat Patrol hauling butt across the desert there.
In a bid to blunt the Allied assault, the Iraqis torch the oil wells of Kuwait. But the winds shift, and the choking black smoke is blown into the faces of the Iraqis instead. The oil fires also make life difficult for the pilots.
Right over that one. Pretty low. This is incredible. Is it? Yeah. We're climbing back up.
The smoke and the haze from all the oil fires, we had to get down below it. We're a visual bombing aircraft, so we really had no means to bomb otherwise without just simply dropping on a coordinate, and that's not very accurate. So we press down through the clouds, through the smoke, and once you're underneath, you're very vulnerable. It's pretty easy for a guy on the ground to pick up an aircraft that's silhouetted against a cloud cover. So that was a little bit uncomfortable feeling.
Flying under the clouds becomes more than an uncomfortable feeling for Captain Scott Walsh.
First thing I noticed was this huge explosion, the plane jerked, and I looked down and all my lights had lit up red. It looked like a Christmas tree in the cockpit. And getting the red lights is not good, especially the big one that says fire. And I looked over my shoulder, and it looked like a Roman candle coming out the wing.
A nearby Marine in his FA-18 flies in close to help Walsh.
There's not much you can do for a guy when he's on fire alone in a plane, but just having them coming up beside me and talking to me really gave me a lot of peace of mind and so on. And I thought about ejecting initially, but I remember my father had always told me, fuel burns and vapor explodes.
Captain Walsh flies for 10 minutes on fire.
I was trying to find a road. I thought, hey, I can land this plane anywhere. I fly a Harrier. So I talked to the F-18. I said, hey, how about this field in the central Kuwait that we had overrun? He said, yeah, I'll lead you over there. And I rolled in, tried to get my gear down, but it wouldn't come down. I tried the emergency system to blow them down. That didn't work. So I thought, well, I can do a vertical landing then. I tried to pull the nozzle lever in to get the nozzles to point down and get my thrust below me, but I think the missile had destroyed the right rear hot nozzle, so the 3 nozzles went down, 1 didn't. Gets the aircraft kind of squirrely in the air at that point, so I couldn't control it. And the general rule in the Harrier is if you move the nozzle lever and the plane does something funny, put it back where it was before. So I started thinking, you know, I may have to eject out of this aircraft. And you don't really want to ever do that because the plane's flying at this point. Right about the time we were talking about this, the hydraulics bled out completely, the stick froze up, and the nose pitched up and rolled uncontrollably, and the Hornet started yelling at me, hey, eject, eject, eject.
So I said, hey, I'm getting out now, and I said something.
Walsh briefed his squadron on what happened next.
And then the frickin' parachute came out, and that was about the most violent thing, was the opening shot, because you go from like 200 to 0 in about a second. And next thing I know, I'm seeing hey, I couldn't touch my toes right now, but I was touching them then because my hands and toes and head all went forward. And I saw just stars everywhere. It twisted, so the risers were shoving my head down, and as I was unraveling, I saw the plane hit up there, so a big orange fireball. I thought, well, that must be the plane, and whipped back around, and there's the field, and spun back around again. There's still the plane. And then it kind of stopped, and I thought about the procedures they tell us, you know, check canopy. You know, and I kind of sat there and thought, God, I hope it's good. Yeah, I looked up, and there it was. I was like, yes, you know, good canopy. So I kind of lifted my knees up, and as I hit, I pulled on the risers and tried to twist. Basically hit toes, knees, hips, shoulder, rolled on my back, thing dragged me a little bit, popped the risers, and hopped up. And Major Peters and the FAC, they thought I landed on my feet. They said it looked like you landed on your feet because as soon as it hit, you were running away. And I said, no, I got hit and actually.
Walsh is rescued by Marines. Berryman is not so lucky. The bombing of buildings in the enemy capital city by the Allied air forces almost kills him. The building in Baghdad, where Berryman and 12 other American prisoners are being held, makes it onto the target list of the Allied Air Command. Berryman is awakened one night by 2 thunderous explosions, followed by a deafening silence.
At about that time, somebody yells, incoming, and you start hearing this click, 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 click. And what that was the fins to that laser-guided bomb as it was making its correction down that laser beam toward the target. That next bomb was supposed to come in center of the building, which where we all were. It was supposed to destroy the entire building. Fortunately, it went right over the top of the building, landed out in the parking lot. It exploded out in the parking lot, and this huge fireball came into the window where it had been and just went in the room and then sucked itself right back out. Just the most incredible thing I'd ever seen. I prayed and almost continually that God would give me the strength to see this thing through, and fortunately He did. But the other thing that I kind of drew strength from was every night the Allies would come in and they would bomb Baghdad, and I knew that as long as they were bombing Baghdad, they were doing something to try to end this war and to try to get us out of there.
Military Channel and military.com to show your appreciation and help reconnect America. There's no easier way to get involved and support our armed forces. Together, let's say thank you to all those answering the call. This month, learn about the American Legion. Established in 1919, the American Legion continues to be a loyal advocate for our brave veterans and their families. Go to reconnectamerica.com to learn more.
3 days after the ground war begins, the Marines